Good evening, folks. How are you? This is the Reseller Six Pack. I'm Dwayne Hale on Mothership Products. You obviously know who I am because you're on my channel. We're talking about storage unit sourcing tonight, or that's what we're going to start with. We'll go from there. This is our 40th show, so that's pretty damn amazing if you ask me. That's like what, 10 months, 11 months almost.
Yeah,
you started in June, right? Yeah, we're coming up on a year in June, right?
Wow,
that's amazing.
Fantastic.
So that's pretty cool. Why don't we introduce ourselves? Let's see. Next to me is Miss Tanya.
Hey everybody, I'm Tanya, also known as Thrifty Treasures here on YouTube. And tonight I am having a little cran apple cocktail.
You look like you're drinking out of a hotel glass, like you're in a hotel. Well, they give you those little...
The reason why I'm drinking out of these plastic cups is because we've been having sink issues for the past 4 days.
Oh, man.
Today, Kurt finally fixed the problem he got. What do you call those things? A rudder or a rooter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and what's it called?
A snake.
You snake the line.
Oh, I've done that a time or two.
Easy now. Already.
Oh my goodness.
Good thing it's not on your channel, right, Tanya?
Yes.
All right.
Oh,
next we have the Killers.
Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Okay, good.
I got a new thing.
We always have issues, so we're trying yet another way.
Wow,
to
look
see
at
if you
you
guys.
You're looking all professional and everything.
These are Office Plantronics things. I got them for $10.
Oh, hey, whatever works.
I know. We're gonna try them. We'll see.
Okay, I am drinking. It's the Fire Rock Pale Ale. This is the same beer, just a different. This one's Fire Rock. I've been drinking this probably for a year now. There's however long I've been on this show. That's when I became an alcoholic. And then the islands, like they're kind of, I showed you guys that before. It's really cool. Like it's a bold relief. And I'm also wearing my BJ Penn all Hawaii shirt to go along with this. And I'm gonna drink. I think I'm gonna drink 6 of these tonight.
Right.
So we'll start now.
Thanks, you guys.
He's gonna be trash.
I'm drinking my Starbucks that I got earlier today. I'm still finally getting down to finishing it.
Oh my goodness.
So I'll be.
Somebody's got to stay sober enough to haul Steve to bed later, right?
Oh,
Right.
I'll drag him.
All right. Next we have Mr. Shane.
How's it going, everybody? I am Shane, the Resin Grind Picker, and tonight I'm drinking Miller High Life again because I spent all my money on storage envelopes.
Your money?
Your money?
all my money.
Drunk again already?
All my money. No, I did not start drinking early, but I spent all my money on shipping envelopes, so I kind of gotta go cheap tonight. So
Shipping envelope. Where are you buying them, man?
it's a long story.
So if anybody needs
was,
any shipping envelopes, hit up Shane. He'll hook you up. He'll charge you twice as much because you heard it from us.
Don't count on him to do the math for you.
Or at least not on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who we got next. We got Mr. Andy.
How's everybody doing? I'm Andy, the Pearhead Picker on YouTube and Instagram. And tonight I am drinking coffee. It is like 30 degrees and snowing here in Illinois. I'm down in my basement.
That's what's coming for us. That's coming our way.
Yeah, I'm rocking my flannel. It is cold, so coffee it was. I went upstairs getting ready for the show. I was gonna go grab a beer, and I seen my wife had some coffee on, and I'm like going, coffee it is.
It's snowing in April. Is that normal?
You know what? Thursday it was 70 degrees, and today it's snowing. Shane, is it snowing down at your place too yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, it's been snowing, I bet, for 4 hours. I mean,
That's
nothing's.
awesome.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It is.
Snow is horrible.
Someone from Texas would say that. Like, if you're from here or where Lauren lives, or no, it is not awesome.
So even if the only time it would even be awesome is at the beginning of winter. Then your first snow is like, oh, it's cool. But no, not April. It's like, okay, we're done with this. Let's go away.
You know, I'm one of them guys. I don't even want a white Christmas. I hate snow.
Yep.
I would leave this guy.
Well, you need to move to Texas if you hate.
I would leave this state in a minute if I could, but you know, with having 2 grandkids here and everything else, there's no way that we're getting Mama out of the area. So,
all right. Next is Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren, HauteChicThrift, and I am drinking a virgin LaCroix grapefruit water right now.
Really?
I might change to something else later, but that's what I have right now. And it is still snowing at my house. It's since Friday, so I just sent a little Andy's way.
gee, thanks.
Next we have Garage Flips.
Hey guys, I'm Lonnie, also known as Garage Flips on YouTube, and it's not snowing here. It's like it's chilly though. It's like I think 55 degrees or so. A little chilly in here. I'm thinking about kicking the heater on here in a minute, but I have a bottle of Appleton Estate. I'm on my second one. This stuff is so good, guys. It's Jamaican rum. Oh, it's delicious. You got to try it. It's like $20 at Walmart.
What do you mix it with?
I just have Diet Coke.
Wait, you can buy liquor at Walmart?
Yeah.
You can.
You didn't know that?
Liquor?
You can?
Yeah.
Well, some
Not me.
states,
No,
some states you have to
you
go to
can.
like the state liquor place or whatever.
That would be me.
Like they don't. You can't buy liquor at Walmart here in Texas.
Oh.
Yeah, you
What
can't know.
about
Are you kidding me?
Well, like I'm not shopping for liquor every day, but I don't think so. I mean, like I see like wine and beer, but I've never seen liquor at Walmart.
it's right
Oh,
across
yeah.
from the soda?
What?
So
No.
Yeah, it's the next aisle over. 'Cause
Yeah.
I went and got my rum, and then I went one aisle over and got my Coke.
Yeah.
At my Walmart, they have an entire aisle of liquor. And it's
Really?
Ours too.
huge.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I have to go to Specs for everything.
So when you drive up to Walmart in your pickup truck with a rifle and a rack behind your head, you're telling me that you can't get alcohol.
I ain't got
she's
a rat
walking-
behind my head. I got Skippy behind my head.
And she's walking into Walmart with a gun on her hip, and she cannot buy alcohol.
And last but not least, we have John.
I'm John, the Cincinnati picker. I am drinking Bell's Oberon Ale. It's not currently snowing in Cincinnati, but it is coming. I'm looking at the weather forecast for tomorrow, and it does not look good.
Not
Hey,
good.
John, I'm actually rocking the Bills shirt.
Oh, nice! Cheers, bud. That's a cool shirt.
So you'll wear the shirt but not drink the beer tonight? What's up with
You know
that?
what?
man?
Hey, this is
I'm crushed.
Hey,
I
this
mean,
is
seriously,
actually the
guy,
first
not
I think I've ever not had a beer on this
I
show.
know.
So.
That's
I'm lost.
crazy.
I don't even know what to do here.
Andy's a poser. That's it.
If I open up this cabinet behind me, you'll see that I'm definitely not a poser.
Let's see. Let's call his bluff, guys. Let's see the cabinet.
See ya.
Yeah. What's in
All right,
there?
you all want a little peek? Hang on.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah. It's Andy's stash.
All right, let me click on him here. So.
Hang on, let me see if I can get my camera up here. I don't know if you can
Holy mackerel! That's a lot of.
see the back there in the corner. Those are all
Oh my gosh.
barrel-aged beers back there.
Sheesh.
Crack one
Oh
open.
my gosh!
Those are all barrel aged bourbon barrel beers back there in the corner. I got a few over here over to the side and more out in the other room. Yeah, they're
Scattered about in every room just in case.
I
Case
have
of an emergency,
I have
gotta
a
be able
small
to
problem.
All right. Well, tonight we are talking about sourcing using storage units.
Storage.
Yep, storage units. A couple of people here on the panel have sourced that way. have you, Steve and Steph? Have you ever done storage?
We've never purchased anything from a storage unit. We've went, like actually the storage unit where we keep our stuff, we went to an auction there before, but it was back when.
Well, we've been to lots of storage auctions.
Never bought anything.
Yeah, lots.
Right.
It was when it was real popular, you know, like that show got it real popular. And I'm not
exaggerating.
Really there would be like 200 people in a line.
And you pay like $1,000 for a junk unit. And
Yeah,
it was just ridiculous. So we just quit going to them. But
yeah, and actually I'll hit on that a little too. Because I was buying before that show, and that show kind of put a big dent in it. It made it so everybody thought that they were going to find, you know, the $10,000 pieces of jewelry or something, and of course anybody that's ever done one knows that doesn't happen. Not very often. I mean, once in a great while you'll hit a home run, but most of the time it's just bread and butter items, or you know, you'll find something tucked away that's worth a little bit more than what you would normally find. So
is that kind of faded away now, Dwayne? That thing?
I think so, but what I have noticed is that there's a lot less in-person auctions and a lot more online auctions. So
that's across the board too, not just for storage.
Right, exactly. Because of the ease for just the storage unit managers, you know, being able to just throw a bunch of pictures up, just like eBay, you know, throw a bunch of pictures up and wait until it's done. That's probably a lot easier than actually running an auction, finding an auctioneer, being on the schedule, you know.
And paying an auctioneer too. That's another thing. Is like if you just take the pictures and you've got the software, you don't have to pay an auctioneer. So they're saving a lot by doing it that way.
Absolutely. So yeah, that Storage Wars did it didn't ruin it, but it flooded the market with buyers for a while. People, like I said, everybody watched that show and thought, you know, oh yeah, everything's I'll find, you know, $500 in every single unit. Well, no, you know, very rarely do you find things like that. And what they didn't realize is that show was, I mean, it was scheduled. It was plotted. It was a show. It wasn't what they have never said it was real.
Yeah, but Dwayne, you say that, but I've been, you know, kind of keeping tabs on you and watching you and listening to you, and your experience has made me want to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that I don't. There isn't money to be had. Of course there is, but you're not going to find the 1908 pull car from, you know, some movie, you know.
Wait, back up, Dwayne. Are you saying Storage Wars is fake? Are you saying?
I know, right? I know. Oh my gosh, did I say that out loud? Right? Yeah, things on TV, you know, kind of like. Oh, I'm not even going to say it because I'll get grief over that. So anyway, yeah. It was for entertainment. So, but what it did do is flood the market with buyers for a while. And I was going to in-person auctions at that time. And just like Steve and Steph said, you know, we used to have 10 or 15 kind of regular people that, you know, you knew what they bought, and you knew that he had a store downtown and he was a furniture dealer. So you kind of, you know, monkeyed around a little bit that way. And then when that hit, you had all the people that had, you know, disposable income throwing money at this and getting crazy with it. So,
something I find interesting, and I want to just, since we haven't had this experience, I'll get this out of the way because we're interested in hearing what the people that have bought actually experienced. But last week on the Six Pack show, I believe it was last week, you guys, like John, Cincinnati Picker, had touched on, you know, you got a contract when you're doing it online, because you were discussing that with him, Dwayne. I don't know if you guys remember this conversation. And John was surprised that they can, you can be on an online auction because, you know, you're bidding that way. And then they can say, no, the person bought, they paid their bill. So you're in a contract, but the site's not in a contract. And I watched your storage haul, and then you actually told us the site to go to. So I've been looking on that site, because we want to, we want to see it. And there's tons of auctions around here on that site. It's a Storage Treasure. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. StorageTreasures.com.
Okay. Yeah. So we started looking on that, and there's a couple things that are weird about it. Like, at least the ones I've looked at. Like, there was one real interesting one that, like, it was one person has 3 units, 3 storage units, and they have pictures, and none of the pictures are like back here and you're seeing the front of the storage unit. It's all, they're showing inside, and they're showing all these different things. There's some neat stuff in there, and then there's crap. And each one, so there's 3 different units you would be bidding on, and they say the unit, this already sold, by the way, but they say the unit that you buy may not have all the items that are in that picture. Does that sound like yeah?
That sounds kind of hokey there. I haven't seen that before.
Well, so on that site,
Steve, you shouldn't break wind on video.
that wasn't me. Did somebody break wind?
I think there's a break room made for.
Oh, Lonnie probably. Okay.
What? I'm just sitting here listening. Guys, this is a great conversation.
But anyway, Lonnie.
Don't interrupt these guys. I want to hear this.
But anyways, they have. So I've noticed that out of the ones we've been looking at, it varies in how they describe it. Like, I don't know if it's the storage or is the company with the storage unit. Are they the ones that are posting that and they're writing their descriptions and conditions? And is that how that works?
Yeah. Typically it's the storage unit will take the pictures and send it and upload it to the storage treasure website. I'm guessing it's kind of like John, where he has his infrastructure and he's the one that uploads to it, but it would be similar to that. But it comes from other people. As far as I know,
infrastructure, man, that sounds fancy.
I know, it was my 50-cent word. It was on my little calendar over here.
I don't think what I do is that fancy, but I appreciate that.
I know. I wish I had an infrastructure. I wish I could say the word. I can't even say infrastructure.
Have you found it pretty consistent, Dwayne, on what you're looking? Oh, there was another unit that I saw, and it was in Camp Pendleton, and they had a motorcycle in there. And so I was like, and I saw the price, and I said, cool, I'm bidding on this. And then you read the description, and at the very bottom of everything that they said, it may have this, and this. At the very bottom, it says the motorcycle is not included. But the motorcycle is like highlighted,
Yeah, they get you in with that. They usually can't get the titles for that stuff. So
exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. So that is what happens sometimes. Is and they will say it. They'd usually say, car not included, and it's usually something like John was saying, something that's titled, something that is not going to do you any good because you can't, you can strip it for parts, I guess.
That's good to know. So I see cars for sale as well, and they don't say anything about. And I even thought about that, like who owns these cars? How are they selling it? So that's a no-no, right? Like buying a car.
It's not necessarily a no-no because, like in my state, you can buy a car without a title and get a title. You put in
there are no rules in Utah, are there? I mean, they just don't care. You don't need a license to auction stuff. You don't need a title for your cars.
You do need a title, but you can ask for you can go in and request a duplicate title is what it's called.
Okay.
And they go back and they do the research to make sure, what happened. And you can take bills. What? Sorry?
After you buy a car at an auction for, let's say, $1,000, and then you go to ask if they will give you, and then they could say no.
No, the duplicate title won't be in your name or anything, though. They're just getting a copy, and then you need to find the original seller to have them send it off to you.
Oh, and that sucks.
And that's gonna be hard to do.
Yeah, it's not an easy process.
I know in Illinois you can file for a lost title as well, and then they'll take and just send one out.
Yeah, what they do is usually they look and make sure that you're not just some guy that wants to get somebody's title.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm sure every state is different that way.
Yeah, California's probably going to be bad.
Probably, yeah. You probably have to give up your firstborn child and blood sample and everything else just
You know, Dwayne, I wanted to mention something to you guys that have actually sold these things before.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I found pretty interesting is that, like, if you buy a storage unit, then you are instantly forced to find ways to sell all kinds of different merchandise, whether it be furniture or like smalls that you could do on eBay, or some stuff you got to put in the dumpster, or some stuff you got to donate, or some stuff you might like. There's all these different avenues, and there's so many avenues you could sell on now, which is good.
Right.
But, like, it's probably like if you're not an experienced seller across a wide variety of platforms, then you will become one, or you will not be successful, I would think, right?
Well, it's just like anything else. I mean, if somebody hands you a big pile of stuff, you being a reseller, you're going to be, you go do research, figure out where it's going to sell, you know, what I can do with it here, what I can do with it there. So it would just probably take more time. You know, if you have your network set up where you can, you know, you have, like I said, I think I said this once before, that you have a furniture guy that, you know, will take all your furniture for, you know, half price or whatever. Or you have a tire guy, or a guy that buys, you know, just any kind of networking guy.
So,
you know,
so I guess what you're saying then is you have to be willing to, if you want to move it in an expedient fashion, you have to be willing to maybe take less than top dollar and give somebody else some, leave somebody else some meat on the bone, right?
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, that's the way I think about it. My when I buy a storage unit, my first job in my eyes is to get my money back. You know, if I try and get my money back, and then after that I'm in the green, then I don't mind. You know, I sold the one that I had filmed. I sold the entertainment center out of that locally for
sale
$40. Yeah, who got that?
Was that awful? No, not me. Somebody's.
Yeah, I was gonna say who's got that. Shane looks frozen.
Wasn't us.
No, not me either.
He's got that shit-eating grin on his face, and he's just not even there.
He's just been giggling to himself this whole time.
He's had that look ever since he made that deal on all that shipping materials. He's got that same look.
I think so. I think you're right. So, what the heck was I talking about? I don't even know. What was your question, Lonnie?
I didn't really have a question. I was just.
Oh, okay.
Wayne, I got a question.
Sure.
What are the rules for your storage units in Utah as far as how fast you have to get the stuff out of there?
It actually depends on the storage unit facility. They set it. Most of the time, it's 72 hours is what ours is.
Oh, dang!
But
that's awesome. It's like 24 here.
Yeah, a lot of them have 24, 48. But most storage unit facilities, if you need more time, unless they're, you know, hardcore at it, you go and you say, hey, you know, I can't get it all out by this day. Can I have it till Wednesday? And most of the time, they're going to go ahead and do that because they're in Utah. They're not selling stuff. The facilities are regaining the ability to rent that unit. That's all that they're getting because they don't get, you know, they're not in the business to sell that stuff. Let me get this really quick. David McMillan, thank you very much. 20 pounds, which I don't even know what that converts to, but thank you very much for that.
It's probably about $28 or so, man. It's pretty good. It's
nice. Thank you so much. Thank you.
He's also staying up really late tonight.
Dwayne, he's from Northern Ireland.
Oh, I know.
Cheers, David McMillan. Cheers, man.
Yeah,
let's drink to David.
Cheers.
Hey, David.
David McMillan from Northern Ireland.
Oh, no. Steve, you have to kill your beer.
I've already killed one.
That's okay. Yeah, look at Steph's face. Like, yeah, thanks.
I know what's coming.
Whitney has been binge watching Game of Thrones, and I think that's where they filmed all that is Ireland.
Oh, really? Very good.
Pretty cool.
So
shot.
anyway, most facilities will say, yeah, you can. It's 72 hours, but they're regaining their right to their property. So if it takes a couple of days, it's not like they're going to rent it out on a Wednesday in the middle of the month anyway. Typically, you know, they're going to, unless they're really busy. If they're a really busy place, then it may be a little bit more of a hustle. But yeah, you are kind of under a time crunch. One of the things that I've found is, you know, as soon as you get it, get that shit home. Because at that point, you know, once you've bought it in Utah, okay, again, this is going back to your question a minute, John. One of the things is it's a lien. They're selling a lien. That's why they can sell it out from under you, because as soon as they can't, as soon as the person pays up, then that lien is gone. But until that gavel drops, they are allowed to pay their bill. So that's kind of how it goes. And then once that gavel drops, I try and get to the facility as soon as possible. If I can, put a lock on my own lock on it. Some of them have their own little lock system, which normally isn't an issue for me. And then as soon as I can, get that home.
Hey, Dwayne, so if we bought one, are you saying that when you get there, they don't have a lock on it? Like,
they cut it for you. Well, it depends. If it's an online auction, yeah, it's locked. In fact, if you go on this thing, it'll have usually they have a picture of the lock or the seal. They have a little seal that they put on there, and it has a number. And so when you get there, you make sure that number is there, you know, 1, 2, 3. Usually it's not like an actual lock. It's a little tag that you have to break to get it off.
Right.
And then, they break it in front of you, and then it's yours.
So the online ones at this website, they aren't, you're not bidding against live people as well? Like at the store, the only ones we've ever gone to were just live ones where you're standing there. So they're not saying I have an online bid for 20, online bid for 30.
No, this is online only. They don't have the ones that I've seen. They may have some that are both, but every one that I've seen on that site is online only.
I've been to a simulcast auction like that. It drives you freaking nuts.
Oh, I know. I imagine.
Oh my gosh. They're like, online bid just came in. I'm like, you're pulling that out of your butt.
Or then they have a piece of paper with the reserve bid, and you're like, you're full of shit.
Right.
Hey, Dwayne, with so do you look at? I mean, let's assume that the facility, if it says on the site, you've got X number of hours to get it out. Let's say it's 24 hours. And maybe they'll work with you. I mean, I would probably call them immediately and say, hey, can I get a little more time if I thought I needed it? But do you have on that site, we could put how far out we would go? Like right now I'm looking at 100 miles, but when I was looking at that, I was like, you know what, if it's 100 miles away, I would not want to bid on a unit that I couldn't really tell how much was in there, you know, because I wouldn't know what to bring to haul it out.
Right.
And we got to clean it as well. So would you recommend staying within like a small radius of your, you know, where you live so that you can pick it up? And because what do they consider cleaning it out? You just broom it out and you're done, or
that's it. Everything has to be gone, and if it's most places ask you to sweep it. You know, take a quick broom and just kind of get all the stuff out.
So if the previous tenant or the person that owned it, say they had a bucket of paint
say they had a body in a big 50-gallon drum.
Yeah, leaking out. Are you responsible, or is it just they expect it just to be clean, brush clean?
Steve, I'm sorry, but if I was to get your storage unit, I would have to tell you on you. I would have to do it. All those body parts would come in front of the law at some point.
You know, one day we're all going to say they told us they were killers the whole time. We're going to be on some kind of show on one of these true crime things. Or something.
They were so nice, and they were always teasing about it, but we just thought they were nice.
It's called hiding in plain sight.
Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, to answer your question, What? Sorry.
I think Andy sold.
I did.
something.
I just sold
Interrupt,
this,
guy.
no, it's all right. You guys are all talking. I just sold this New Holland backhoe hat for $18.
Nice.
Nice. Drink
Cheers.
to that.
Cheers, Andy.
Cheers, man.
Coffee is so celebratory.
I like coffee,
So
man.
about,
We know
about
Steve
that-
likes
that
coffee. He's
distance.
addicted to Starbucks.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is, man. He's always been Starbucks.
thanks,
He
John.
probably
Thanks,
just poured
John.
Starbucks in that bottle of beer, and he's like, "Oh,
I'm gonna drink 6 of
They're on
these
to
tonight.
They're on to you.
You know what? I will go on strike.
He's
I
coffee
went on
drunk.
strike and shut Blockbuster down. I'm personally responsible for Blockbuster's demise.
Oh boy.
You stopped buying toys at Toys R Us too, didn't you?
Yeah, right. Stop shopping at Kmart.
the strike on Blockbuster."
But anyways, Dwayne, like about the distance thing, I don't want to cut you off. The
No, you're
distance,
fine.
Do you say, hey, I won't go beyond this distance from personal experience? I know I need this much time to, depend on the size of the unit to get it back home.
Well, it depends on the size of the unit. If you're willing to rent a vehicle, like a U-Haul or a truck, it depends on what you have to haul stuff. It also depends if you want to hire people to help you. I've never done that. I've never got one big enough that I needed extra people that I had to hire. I mean, my brother or my son or something like that will always help. But I've heard of people that hire, 3-man crews and a U-Haul truck to unload it all for him and, haul it home. So it really would depend on how much you think you can do in that given time. I do about 50 miles. And that's usually, there's probably 10 or 15 good storage units there or in that area. Only because I know that if I get in a pinch, it's going to be a pain in the butt for me to get to my house to that storage unit and do it if I have to do it 5 times.
Right.
Because then you're factoring in gas money and time, which that's my problem. I don't always have the time. So it's my issue is the time. I mean, I can do the work and all that, but I just don't have that kind of time to spend unloading it and then bringing it back to my house and unloading it there.
Yeah.
There was a question in the chat from Sam Dallas, I believe. He said, can you rent the storage unit? A lot of facilities will let you. Let's say I buy a storage unit and it's going to take 3 weeks, 3 days is what they say to get out. And I don't have that kind of time or the logistics to do that. You can usually ask them to, hey, can I rent it for a month? And, for them, they're going to make whatever their monthly rent is, $100 or whatever.
And then you don't pay the bill and then they sell it again.
There you go. You go in and cherry pick. So, yeah.
That's not a bad plan, dude.
Yeah.
Like you have to have another identity and a disguise because you want to make it.
So only Steve could really get away with it on this panel. Right, Steve?
There's a storage unit and it's got like 20 pianos in it, and then it's got one item that you can sell. You can sell that one item for like 500. You buy it for 10 because nobody wants those pianos. You take that one item and then you leave and then you just say, hey, I'm going to rent it for 1 month, and you're still up. You're still going to make money, and then they can auction off those pianos.
You're joking around, but there's a sign at the place that I rent for my storage. It's like no dumping because my manager said that some people will rent like a 10 by 20 storage unit and they'll pay the month or whatever. And a lot of times there's like incentives for the first month. They might do half price rent or something. And then they'll like offload a bunch of like just garbage. They'll use it as a dump site, barrels of toxic waste or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And then they'll just disappear. And now you have all this crap sitting 10 by 20 worth of crap. It was cheaper than bringing it to the dump,
That's brutal.
Yeah, it's very true. And once you buy it, you are in charge of getting all of it out. Most storage facilities, I don't think they're going to typically sell you something that they know that you can't get rid of or something like that. but it's you've bought it, so you have to figure out what to do with it. Like, most of them will have a bed of some sort, and typically you don't obviously want to keep a bed. You don't know what's, bed bugs and all that kind of stuff. But here in Utah, you have to pay to get rid of it. Sometimes you have to pay, depending on which county you're in, to get rid of it.
Holy crap!
Is that Andy?
Yeah,
That's the part-time guy, by the way.
Nice.
Holy cow!
What was that?
So,
hang on, I got loaded up. I don't know what the heck it is here.
I hope it's a big one.
Nah, it's nothing crazy.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
It's American Eagle Pearl Snap shirt for $20 with the shipping. Nothing
Hey,
crazy.
Andy.
Cheers,
Nice.
bud.
Hey, Andy.
Drink to that.
I'll drink
Yes.
to that.
Oh wait, I gotta get that off Poshmark now. Don't mind me.
Damn, I knew we couldn't get through a whole show without saying Poshmark. So-
Right.
it's the new buzzword.
Hey, Andy, you know what?
What?
The Belgians,
Oh,
they
no.
frown upon show-offs. Just point that out.
That's a good one.
Oh, cheers. I guess I should turn my notifications off. Y'all are mean.
So, John, what have you, when you bought them? Tell us a little bit about your experiences.
It's been years since I bought any storage units. I bought some before I started my business, 4 or 5 years back, and I learned real quickly that they were not for me. The competition's pretty fierce in Cincinnati. There's a lot of guys that do them, and they pay up for them big time. And it's work, man. It's like you said, like if you pretty much any size unit, there's going to be a bunch of crap you can't sell. I mean, I was salvaging maybe 25% of the stuff. Just because, like, used couches and beds, like, nobody's going to buy that stuff. You can't sell it.
John, when you were doing the storage units before, did you have employees at that point or
Oh,
not?
no. I was just doing it like, one here, one there.
But you have employees now, and then when you did when you did all the media pallets, you hired extra people to come in and help with that.
I did.
So do you think you would have maybe your different attitude about something else that, where you could hire some labor in, or is it just not appealing to you still?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not even sure if they still do live ones now, if they're all online or what the deal is, but it's just such a risk. And I hate spending a good chunk of money not knowing, there's just too much unknown with that. And at least from what I've seen, you've got to buy a handful of them to kind of do good, because some of them are going to be crap, but then you're going to hit on some of them.
Sure.
If yours were a couple years ago too, then you might have been. I was around when we were looking at them too, so maybe it's gotten less competitive.
Yeah, I might have to look back into it and see.
Yeah.
I think what John just said, like, it's either, I think if you're doing volume, you're going to have, you can make money if you're doing volume, but if you're doing volume, you can make money even not doing volume. But I'm like, what I'm getting from John is you would have to, if you're not real astute, you want to try to be as picky as possible when you're picking a unit, which that's what we would do. We would be really picky, and we wouldn't be,
which is why we
wouldn't be determined to get it. But I did notice, we saw Dave Hester, one of the storage guys at one of our swap meet things, and that dude had a setup. He was probably paying more than $500 for his spaces. I mean, easily more than $500. We know how much it cost there. So he had this massive area, and he had a lot of employees there. So I think he's a legitimate storage buyer. He's still going to swap meet and selling. And
yeah, I remember
he's
him.
doing so much. Yeah, he's doing so much volume that it's almost hard not to make money if you're just taking everything. You're gonna get some volumes in there.
And he has a shop too, doesn't he? Or I know he used to.
Yeah, I'm sure. We saw at that flea market, you could tell that guy. A lot of people when we showed that, a lot of people were like, "He's an asshole," all these different. And we're like, we don't even know the dude, but he was super nice.
That's what you want for TV, though, is polarizing.
Like exactly right.
I could see Steven Stuff being stars on a show like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you see that?
It's a TV show, and that guy in person though was very nice, very accommodating, and his setup, I'm telling you, he probably had 10 people working for him at the flea market, and he was working, so
and he was there with his dogs
and his wife.
They were cute.
So it was a big operation. He had the primo spots. He had a big section carved out. And
he had a big truck parked there with advertising.
Yeah, giant truck with advertising.
Did it say Yup on it, real big?
Oh yeah.
He had hats. He had merch hats for sale with Yup on them. Yep.
Did you get the feeling that he was rich? That he had that he was well off?
If you didn't know the show and you just walked up there, first off, I wouldn't have known that he had all those spaces. I wouldn't have assumed that. But he was getting dirty, man. He was a guy. He was a guy that is out there selling. He was hawking his goods, and I respect that. I mean, I found it refreshing. I don't know what expectations we had, but it was not. He was very nice, and like I said, there was comments coming in on the live feed that I was like, well, the guy's nice to us, so that's all I could go off of. But he's doing
a villain in every show though, so you got to play it up. So he got to be that.
Well, he was doing volume like John was alluding to, and I think for us, like right now, just looking at the online auctions, I think we're going to be real picky, and we would rather have a small, maybe pay a little bit more, and do it that way, and at least get some more experience, because I'm concerned about the whole getting rid of stuff.
Yeah,
that could become a pain in the butt. You get that is part of the thrift stores.
Yeah, if you have a
pain. Go ahead.
If you have a good system to get rid of it, though, you can get rid of it. Like I've been doing storage auctions off and on since 2005, and I've bought some huge units. I would sell the couches. I would sell the furniture. I would sell everything but the bed, and I would leverage consignment auctions. I would cherry pick the stuff that wasn't good. I would send it all to a consignment auction. I had people like contacts that for furniture stores and for stuff like that, where I would I had contacts in like furniture stores where I would be like, hey, this couch looks decent, and I call this guy up and he's like, yeah, $100 per year. So it's all about leveraging contacts when you do storage units and knowing people.
Would you buy Shane when so if you're looking at a storage unit, like if I see one with a bunch of furniture, we don't know anything about furniture and we don't sell furniture. And I know there's people that specifically will target that. But what if that furniture, if nobody wants it that day and you've got to get out of that storage unit? That's what I would be concerned with, is like having a place to store it, or even giving it away. Sometimes you try to give something away,
right, and
nobody wants it.
Well, first off, like you gotta have like a plan to store it. You gotta have a plan to do whatever. So when I was like really heavy in the storage units, I had a trailer, I had an F350 turbo diesel, I had all that stuff to be able to load up in one trip. And if I was 100 miles away, I had a big enough trailer to load that whole unit up, or multiple units up. And
slow down on the units.
I know. So many units.
You got so many units coming out. It's ridiculous.
Listen, I got a 350 turbo diesel. I'll take as many units as I can get.
That's right.
When you have that kind of truck, you don't really need much of a unit, do you?
Well,
you guys are terrible.
Yeah, we blew Andy. He's gone.
Yeah, he's like, no thanks. But yeah, for me, like,
I'm here looking for units, and I'll take every unit I can get.
Did y'all catch that look Steph just gave Steve?
I'm sorry, Shane.
Oh, man.
No, what? I'm the bad guy. Okay, I'll be your, what's his name, Dave?
Huckleberry.
It's all on his fault. It's all on his fault.
But you know what I was thinking about though about these storage units is that like I remember when John bought all that media, he immediately had to shift into like logistics mode.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I don't have the storage, I get the storage. I don't have the guys, I got to get the guys. I don't have the equipment, I got to get this equipment. And it's like
it was like that for 6 months, dude.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Not fun.
I imagine every day is like that for like a big storage unit buyer where their storage demands are constantly shrinking and growing. And I did not help the unit thing out.
When they're shrinking and growing.
But I mean, you're like, it's a dynamic situation though, where, you know, like one day you don't need anything, and the next day you bought like 3 10 by 20 storage rooms.
If you're successful at it, then that would be what you would want, right? You would want the contraction and the expanding and everything. And
I think the main thing about it is just the logistics. I mean, if you can manage the logistics of it, you can make good money. But at first, you're going to stumble, you're going to trip, you're going to end up with a bunch of crap. You're going to end up with a pissed off wife because your garage is full of shit. And then, but once you start figuring it out, okay, you can start looking at a unit and say, okay, man, there are 3/4 of a. Oh, you suck. Anyway, all right, looking at a locker and saying, 3/4 of this is garbage. What I was told, I talked with way back when I would talk to some of the buyers and just to get some ideas, and one of them said, only bid on what you see.
Yeah.
Don't bid on anything. I mean, if there's a safe in there, the damn thing's empty.
Because then you're just gambling.
Yeah, bid on what you can see and what you think you can make out of that. If you see a bunch of bicycle parts, then that's what you're looking at. You see those bicycle parts, that's what you're going to sell. You can take that into consideration that, well, let's see, if he has like a hunter's unit, a guy that has a lot of hunting stuff. Well, yeah, there may be a weapon in there, but you don't see it. It's not there. But there could be all kinds of other hunting gear in there that is worth stuff.
Yeah, don't let your imagination dictate how you bid on it then.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and just like the one huge unit or locker I bought was I paid $1,200 for it, and I made probably close to 6,000 or 7,000. And what happened was when I looked at it, I seen this big tank in the back, and what that was an air compressor tank, and it had a truck in it and an old, like a brand new disassembled barn in it. And when I bought it and removed the barn, power tools, like brand new in a box, were stacked up to the ceiling. And that was just luck. I mean, I paid $1,200. I paid up. I could have lost all that money. But the one like trick that I think of what makes you good at being able to pick out storage lockers, not even pick them out, but the logistics is to be able to think quickly. Like if you can't think quickly, you won't be good at it.
I think that's true for garage sales too. Like you got to be able to do some quick math,
Yeah, and not even math, but like the situation I got myself into this week with the 250 boxes of bubble mailers. That was a huge deal, and I paid $150 for a 20-foot U-Haul full of brand new bubble mailers I got on a clean out of a house. A YouTube subscriber had threw the lead down to me. And so like I had less than 48 hours, or even probably less than that, less than 24 hours to get a truck to move them 30 miles and to find storage. And I hired a crew. So all that in less than 24 hours to move all that.
That's
and
impressive.
That's what you got to.
You had to have capital. You had to have capital on hand.
Right. And that's what you got to be able to do when you buy storage units, storage lockers. You have to be able to do that.
We're all adults here, Shane. You can say unit.
Yeah.
Unit.
Our timeout had a comment there, Dwayne.
Oh, okay. Where is it?
Go ahead and read it.
I don't even see it.
It says, what if you see a box?
What the hell?
No, I think
see a box.
I think what they're saying is, like, if you just see a box and a unit together, like you're bidding on.
Is the box inside the unit or is it sitting outside?
That's not how, dude. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. You got it all backwards.
How did we not foresee?
I think.
When we
I know. What was I
picked this
thinking?
topic?
What was I
There we
thinking?
go.
John said something important. He said, "That's how it is with yard sales, and you do not get like being able to think fast. At least, not necessarily here in the West Coast. Trust me, it's way different. The yard sales are way different here. They're very infrequent. They're not as good as what you guys are seeing on a daily basis. But John said you have to be able to think quick and do the math quick. And I think the math is important. And I think that you can't, like Steph and I are going to, like, if we're looking at storage units, you can't have that skill without actually doing it and without doing it repeatedly. So when you start out, this is the way we will approach it, is we're going to start out and we are going to be very conservative, because with a storage unit, we're going to do it if the right one comes up, and we'll be very conservative, and we will leave room for a screw up on our part, whether it's
So don't let one unit hurt you, right, Steve?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to get hurt by one unit. It'll take multiple units.
Like 3 or 4 units, maybe.
Oh my.
Hold on.
I think. Well, I mean, we do have a lot of experience with. Oh my god.
Stephanie qualifies. She's like, I'm not doing the
I was being serious.
I know.
I was trying to be serious and share our experience.
No, time out. Barky
I'm bored.
McCheese Pants says, when it comes to units, there's just competition.
It comes to units.
Hey, Krillin, I wasn't the one that said that. It was she was the one that didn't know where the unit and the box. Okay, Krillin, let's get that straight.
Oh, man.
So
Again,
Krillin just
Krillin.
gave a super
Oh my
chat
God.
saying, Steve, it's a unit inside a box. Go back to side chat.
Now, Krillin, that's directed at Shane.
Okay, it should have said Shane.
I think he said. I think it said Steve.
He said
does say
but he
Steve.
means Shane.
If you ever liked the Newlywed Show or the show Three's Company, this is the episode for you guys.
So,
All kinds of weird little humors.
on a serious
Innuendo.
note, John was making a point that I think it went by too quickly, and that I think that is important, John. Like
So
being
was
able
it
to
premature?
do- Oh my goodness! Hey, you guys need to be a little more serious. Okay?
And if that's coming from Steve, that's saying something.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to talk about units, we got to do this
Oh
in
my
a
gosh,
serious
bum crack.
fashion.
I have 3 units and one of them's 40 foot long.
That sounds
All right.
painful.
John, you were making a good point, and I thought it was important enough to elaborate on it. But apparently, Lonnie does not want to share this information. But it is
I'm sorry.
important. John, you're
Steve,
right.
I apologize. I want to hear it.
Okay.
I can't even talk now. No, but John, you're right. You got to be able to. But I think if you don't have that.
I think we read the super chat,
Oh God, that was great.
Thank God we're on Dwayne's channel. Thank God.
Oh my!
We're on Dwayne's channel.
All right, so what it says, we got a super chat from Nevermore Antiques for $2. Thank you very much. And he says, "You can turn a unit into a box. Ask Bruce Jenner."
Oh God.
Oh my goodness. Hey John, when you bought the media, was that in a storage facility?
No, it was a really random thing. It was a bidder of mine, and he just called me up, and he was leasing warehouse space to a guy who skipped town and had all those pallets.
That's right. So, well, I was trying to just get us off that topic.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's funny is he at first told me he had 62, and I bought them, and then like a week later, he's like, "Oh, I had like 50 more." And I'm like thinking to myself, you know what? I didn't want to take those. Like I was struggling to handle the 62 as it was. And the guy that ended up buying those, he just told me a few weeks ago, that guy just shipped them overseas to like Africa or something by the pallet.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah. And like bulk sold them. I don't know what that connection was, but he didn't process them or nothing. He just like moved them, as they were.
Wow. That would be interesting to learn how he did that.
Yeah.
Or maybe a future endeavor, or that's pretty cool, man.
Hey, I wonder how you do the math on that, man. Like if you sold each DVD individually, that would be the most money, and then you move up to selling 100 at a time, and then a pallet at a time, and then a whole load. Like, how do you know when?
There's too many factors.
I mean, there's never sorted them.
What's that?
He probably never sorted them. He probably didn't open.
Yeah, I don't think he did anything with them. Yeah, he just moved them as they were. Yeah.
Well, I know there was some guys. One of these guys is a professional gambler now, professional poker player, and it's just a hobby for him. But him and a partner, I think they were from Boston, that area. And this is years ago they started doing this. They were buying like clothing from thrift stores, Goodwills, all that, but they were buying it in massive quantities. Like it wouldn't even be pennies for a pound. It was by the tonnage, and they were shipping it to Africa and other third world countries, and they made a fortune off of it, and they ended up selling it. And now the guy plays high stakes poker as a hobby.
Who is it?
But that's interesting figuring out
who it is.
I don't remember his name. I mean, I could find it out, but that's how he got his money. Like in the high stakes poker, you got the professionals, and then you got the multi-millionaire billionaires that just like to play with them. Like $1 million is nothing to them. And that guy was one of those guys where $1 million is nothing. But that exporting, I've been interested in that I don't think we would ever get into it because we don't want to put that effort into it. But I know there's people that have bought bulk from us before, and they take it to Mexico, and they're doing it. They're just driving it across to Mexico. But I think those opportunities exist in other countries as well. You just got to be motivated and determined to succeed at that. I'm sure there's so much involved, but once you figure it out, there might not be a lot of competition.
Yeah. It's interesting when we talk about this concept, though, of like what level you're at, because I think I'm probably closer to like the individual unit level, but then like as far as like John's DVDs, like he had to determine, am I going to sell each DVD by itself, or am I going to sell a box of DVDs? And he's got to determine, like, okay, how much more product am I going to get in? How much money do I need to make? How fast, and how much manpower do I have? And it's all these different factors, and it's interesting how we figure it out. And I think a lot of times, like where we're at in our journey as far as like learning how to resell, that depends on, where we're going to be at. Like the further I get along, the more I want to like bundle shit together and get rid of it fast, because I know I got more shit coming because I'm confident. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well,
and that's
John
really
with John with Nevermore Antiques said that he would love to get that deal, John's deal with the media, but he has nowhere to put it. And you would be surprised what you can come up with very quickly. I had bought storage units before where my entire dining room was filled with furniture. And that's what I had to do. I mean, that's what I had to do. But
wait.
You'd also be surprised how much space 62 pallets takes up.
Right.
I was going to ask, saying, okay, now how many times have you been divorced?
Well, I mean, a couple. I mean, but regardless on that.
Yeah. No, and the only thing that I was going to add was when you said that you have to think quick on your feet. When you're doing the storage units online, you don't have to do that because you have that. I mean, you can sit and look and ponder and do, research. But when you're on site, you have to look, say, yep, I can make $200 on that. I could probably sell that for $30. I could bundle those together. It's a different logistics there. When you're online, it's just, you have a whole lot of time. You can sit and it's horrible because you can actually zoom in a little bit, but just bad. The pictures are just bad enough that you can't see shit. You can see it's like, is that it's not very good.
So Dwayne, do you ever try and build a story as you're looking at this stuff that's in the locker? See okay, they have grade A this, grade A that, grade A this, and then you can kind of start to build a picture for what the rest of the stuff is going to be like. So if you see, expensive shit ain't going to be with a bunch of cheap shit, right?
Right. I agree with you. And you're right. It is. What happened there? That me? No.
I don't know.
I'm here. I'm just hearing myself. So
I hear an echo.
Yeah. What the hell?
I don't hear an echo.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it.
I wonder whose it is. It's not me. At least I don't think
Is it me? I just unmuted me.
I don't know. Anyway, back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Man, that was a quick train. I completely lost it.
No, we were talking about if you see a bunch of cheap shit.
Oh, yeah. You're right, and you can make inferences on what's going to be in there. But again, it's always better to bid on what you see because just because I see, hunting supplies, like I said, doesn't mean there's going to be a gun in that unit. You have to kind of go, but you can't expect, like you're saying, if you see a bunch of higher end clothing, you're probably good to think, well, the other clothing is probably higher end too. You're not going to end up with a bunch of faded glory if you're, seeing some high end clothing at the end, one end. So, and I think that's part of the game for me is kind of doing that research and thinking, okay, well, and kind of trying to get in the mind of who. Oh my gosh, I'm starting to sound like Steve. Getting in the mind of who.
What is that?
Of who's? Well, you're always in your mind, and we kind of go way off there.
Well, dude, but you could tell a lot of times, if you see, if I see a place where a guy has camera equipment and math books and a bunch of graph paper and shit, he's got some computers somewhere.
Yeah.
And he's probably got some video games, and he might have some comic books and some other nerd shit, right? You can make it's not hard to make these logical jumps once you.
But a lot of times
asking those questions.
When you do that logical jump, that's where you get in trouble because you think, okay, he's got computers in there. And then when you get in there, there's no computers because he still has those at his house.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful when you make those judgment calls.
Yeah. And I mean, I've made logical jumps when bidding on a storage locker and have been right. And I've made them when I've been wrong. And that's just the business. You lose money and you gain money.
Here's the question though. Anytime I take a risk, I'm thinking what's the potential upside versus what's the potential downside? And I imagine, just based on listening to you guys, I bet your upsides were 10x and your downsides are 1x. That's just my guess, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I limit what like that first unit. Okay, I paid $30 for it, which is really cheap. And so I really didn't care what was in there. I'm gambling $30, and I'm thinking, if I lose everything, I'm out $30 plus the gas plus the dump fees. So it's kind of well, what am I actually out in that case? Mm-hmm. So if you're bidding like $1,200, then I'm sure you're thinking a lot more in depth with it, you know. But
Yeah.
for me, it was these ones I've been buying lately are littler. I don't have a lot of space, so I've just, you know, thrown a little bit of money at it and seeing what happens.
Yeah, the $30 gamble, the potential for your return it's worth that risk. And
Sure.
then there'll come a point where the investment is not worth, if it's a risk. If you do know what you're bidding on, then obviously, you know, if it's clearly like obvious what you're bidding on, then it makes a big difference, I think.
Right. And being online, it's kind of hard to see. You can't get that exact angle that you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what I noticed also, Dwayne, is on a few of those, not many, there's been a couple that private individuals are selling on there as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Non-lean units is what they're called.
Yep.
Do those people, have you noticed if they start at a certain price, or do they start at zero like a regular auction?
I don't know. I think they all have to start. I don't think there's ever a reserve on that on the storage unit or the storage treasures. I don't think I've ever seen that. So they're starting out, but the thing is, since it's a non-lean unit, if they don't get enough money, they can.
Are you serious?
That's annoying.
Well, it's a non-lean unit.
Well, and
that means nothing.
What is that?
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
bullshit.
I agree. I think it's a crap. I would never buy a non-lean unit because first of all, you know that they've taken all the good stuff out. So
well, even when it's non-lean, like I was on the storage treasures and I was bidding on 5 units and winning on all 5, and they all canceled at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, so they canceled all 5 units. And that's just the risk you take.
I get the point of somebody having, it's a law, okay, and it might be different each state. Like in California, they have a certain amount of time to pay for that. I get that, okay. They pay, then they get their unit back. But if you are an individual selling it, then that site, I think, should say, you know, you're agreeing, you're coming into a contract with the potential buyer as well.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
And it might not be. It may not be. I mean, they may have a contract. I've never, like I said, I don't mess with non-lean units because that takes the fun out of it for me. It's the treasure hunt that I like. And one of the things I did want to say about storage units is how fun it is.
What the heck was
that?
Is
oh my goodness.
One of the other things that I like about the storage facility lockers is that it kind of tells a story. I mean, like this last unit, it was very obvious that I had a single mother's unit. She was doing good. She was trying to better herself. She had a spouse in jail, or not a spouse in jail, or not a spouse, but a boyfriend that was in jail. And, you know, all of these things you kind of get from just their stuff. And it's hard to not worry, you know, think about the, you know, that
The
kind of
story
feel bad
behind it.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other times it's like, you know, you're trying to figure it out.
You know, Dwayne, there's sad stories all over the world, man. Like if we
I agree.
Like if we just think about all the suffering and the sad stuff, I mean, you wouldn't be able to function.
I agree.
You know,
And that
I mean,
I don't worry about it because I don't know what happened. I don't know why they lost that unit. It's not my concern, honestly. So, but you find some. I mean, you find a lot of personal stuff. I mean, birth certificates. Like I said, I found dead bodies, you know, in urns, you know, cremated urn bodies. And I mean,
ashes?
it's just, ashes.
Okay, I thought.
Just because I can't think of the damn word, you know, cremated bodies in a thing. Yeah, so, and it makes you think, wow, I would never put somebody I love in a storage unit myself, but whatever, you know. It's kind of a weird thing if you ask me, but there's just all kinds of stuff. So, Nevermore Antique says, I have found drugs. I luckily have never found, well, not in enough to worry about. I mean, I found.
So if you did, would you just like do them or what? Like, would you?
No, hell no. No, thank you.
Well, I
You
mean,
can't
that
sell
could
them if you don't know if they work.
That's right.
But and there's a lot of rules, you know. I mean, like not necessarily rules. You have to read up on it, especially like firearms. That's a big one, because you can get in a lot of trouble having a firearm you know that was used in a crime or something, and so there's ways to get their serial numbers checked and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and for me, like I've made like when I went to get my storage locker for all the bubble mailers I bought, I actually talked to the manager of the whole like, PO and everything, and I was buying off of him. I told him what I did, and he's like, "Well, I don't put mine on auction. The first time someone doesn't buy, I'll let you know, and you can buy it off of me."
Oh man,
and a lot. Well, and that's really not the only time that's happened to me. A lot of those storage locker places will wheel and deal with you on the side for units that have been foreclosed on.
Wow. You got it. Yeah,
so yeah, just call like I literally when I used to do it, I would call around, and if they didn't have auctions, I would say, okay, when you have your next storage locker that doesn't pay, call me and let me know. Nice. And they would. Yeah.
Hey, Andy.
Nice.
Hola.
Andy Parrot Picker.
Uh-oh, here we go.
This is deep. It's deep. It's going to be deep.
Have you, okay, so we're all talking about storage units. Have you ever tried to get your hands on a unit?
I'm pretty much a hands-off kind of guy when it comes to units, so I don't have a lot of experience with those.
So you don't put your hands on them.
Yeah, I'm definitely hands-free, hands-off.
Hands-free.
I don't handle a lot of units.
Oh, man.
You guys are way more experienced in handling these units than I am. I'm just here to learn.
Whoa! Time out, guys. Y'all got a drink. I just made a sale.
Oh,
it's a good sale too.
Oh, dang.
What time does the sale get?
Wow.
The sale sound effect.
It gets another one of these.
Boy.
Wait, what was the sale? I don't see it.
It was $305, wasn't it, Lonnie?
No, $350.
$350
for what?
Dang.
What'd you sell?
It's a Canon 5D.
Nice.
Camera.
Dang, man.
Oh, is that the one you bought at that garage sale on the video?
Yeah, I bought it on I think it was Friday. I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, that was a good score.
Yeah, I paid $150
for it.
Turnaround.
I paid $150 for that particular piece, and somebody bought it for $350 plus shipping. So that's a $200 gross profit before fees. So
And that guy's got more he's gonna sell you, right?
say again.
He has more he's going to sell you.
Well, are there local people watching me right now? No, I think he's fresh out. He's fresh out.
That's
I think we're getting echo from you,
Tanya. Cincinnati picker flip there. How quick you turn that over.
Man, you know what I did though? Whenever I paid $390 for everything I bought there. Whenever I spend like decent money, which makes me kind of think maybe I should try and spend only decent money from now on, I tend to list it a lot faster. You know what I mean?
That's outstanding, Lonnie. That's really good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gives me for sure.
Oh my goodness, Lonnie came prepared. Oh, is that a thing? Cheers.
Go ahead.
Did you
Bottoms
drink
up.
for the sale?
Bottoms up. Yeah.
And now she's the instigator. Look at that.
So Steve, how many have you had so far?
12.
This one He hasn't even finished it. Doesn't even count. Look how
You said you were gonna have 6.
It's a different flavor.
He says it's cold.
I'm not
That
done
one's
yet.
warm.
This one's a
Okay.
castaway.
All right.
This
Are
is
you
a
double
castaway.
fisting it? Dang.
No, the other one is not being touched because it's too warm
Here.
now.
Oh.
Steve likes a cold unit, not a warm one.
Yes, he likes units.
He prefers the double fisted unit.
He likes the double fisted unit.
Beer coming out your nose is different.
So, any questions in the chat that we can answer?
Oh, there's some questions.
I bet. I imagine so.
It probably doesn't concern storage auctions though.
Probably not.
I got a question for John. Okay, so you got rid of all your media, which is awesome. What was your actual, when you purchased all that media, what was your actual turnaround time? You sold it in 6 months. Did you actually think it was going to take you that long?
I thought it took longer.
That's what I was curious.
Wow.
If you figured it was going to take a lot longer.
Especially the first like 6 to 8 weeks, it was not moving, man. When I bought the stuff, I mean, I was like war general laying out my plan. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna implement this. I'm gonna find all the flea market guys. I'm gonna do this and that. I had like all kinds of avenues of how I was gonna move it in bulk, and it just wasn't happening. I'm like, this really sucks.
Yeah,
but as it went on, I started finding more and more bulk buyers. Word got out a little bit, and the guys I'd made some sales to came back and bought more. So that helped it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, because honestly, for all that stuff to turn all that in 6 months, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That's impressive, yeah.
I had a team to help. If it was just me, it would have probably taken me 6 years.
It was just you because you hired that team.
Yeah,
right.
So.
Yeah, you incurred the overhead to get that done.
John, your goal was to have it all gone before your birthday. When's your birthday?
April 1st. So it got picked up like April 4th or something.
But the deal was done though, right?
Perfect.
The deal was done. He had paid for it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good job, man.
That's
Good
awesome.
Good job. Good job.
What was the most expensive item that you sold?
Money.
Single item, most expensive, I think was around 400.
Out of that, one of those pallets?
Yeah, there was an Adobe.
What was it?
Adobe Creative Suite or some kind of software. Yeah, I found a bunch of Adobe stuff in there.
So you sold a bunch of that software like that was like higher dollar. Did you ever have any of it come back?
Nope.
Wow.
So it was definitely worth it to go through them all and sort them.
I think so. Yeah, there was just so much good stuff. A lot of really good stuff.
That's great.
Craigslist Hunter's asking if I would do it again. If it happened again in like Thanksgiving, like fall time again, I would do it. But right now, there's no way. I mean, I make so much at the yard sales, and I get so much inventory that way. I don't think I could handle it.
Hey, that's a segue to a question I had. In that, okay, so Dwayne, I was kind of thinking about doing storage units in the winter because I don't have like yard sales and estate sales and stuff during the winter. So, alternate sourcing method. Do you find, or have any of you guys found that prices go up seasonally? Do they fluctuate seasonally at all? Or does it stay pretty flat, or do you have enough data to, make a
I don't know. I think I don't consider it all. I mean, I think it's per unit. I mean, each one's going to be different. I don't see like a whole bias, that moves up. It's more, per item.
And for me in Illinois, it gets really freaking cold. So the crowd thins out a lot. So the units do go quite a bit cheaper sometimes because when it's negative 20 degrees out, no one's going to want to go stand out
and
there.
And that is true. If you're not doing it online, if you're doing it in person, foul weather is the best time to go. Because nobody wants to be out there.
That is perfect because like here in Louisiana, my garage sale season is pretty long, but there's like 3 months where it's not happening. So storage units would be perfect for that off season for me. So, I mean, that would be a perfect fill.
Yeah. That's actually a good idea, Lonnie.
Yep. And like I said, when you do it though, you end up with so much different things. I mean, if you're a hard good guy, you're going to end up with a bunch of clothes, a bunch of furniture, a bunch of stuff that you don't know what to do with.
Dude, I've been training for years for that, though. I could say, like, seriously, like.
I guess the downside, Lonnie, would be you're not going to have any. You won't be able to do a garage sale to get rid of a bunch of stuff. Do you have any sort of swap meet or anything you could take stuff to? Because that's where you kind of got to turn.
Not a very good one, stuff. Not a very like the ones y'all show. Like I guess it depends on what area of the country you're in, right? Like like y'all say your yard sales aren't very good, but your swap meets are strong.
Yeah,
that's probably why the yard sales aren't very good.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're in an area where that's happening, make really good friends with your auction house guy or your auctioneer. I took a bunch of crap there a while back ago and literally got cut a $400 check profit after they took the 30%. So I know for me,
go ahead.
Oh, I just said I know for me that when I've had a really tight unit, like okay,
whoa.
I meant like profit wise.
You need some serious education. I meant about how tight the unit is.
I meant like profit wise, like if you take it to a consignment auction, you're likely to come out ahead on the locker itself.
On that, like Lonnie, if you had, like, say you were doing a storage unit, and like earlier John had said. Oh my goodness. You guys have no idea how much I'm holding back here, guys. But if you, like earlier John had said when he was doing it, it's like, let's say 25%. Let's say like over the long run, 25% of a storage facility purchase will be what you actually sell and make money on, as long as you have a way to discard the rest of it without incurring too much of your time, or, you know, I don't know if you have to pay for dump fees and stuff like that. Don't underestimate your time though, you know, for getting rid of that. But I think that's a good thing for your situation, Lonnie, during the off season. I mean, and you might not have a lot of competition because maybe people are not thinking about it, because I think if people are intimidated by the volume of a unit, maybe you could get it cheap. Oh, I tried so hard. I tried so freaking hard.
Steve, I'm totally listening to you, man.
A different word.
I know you
called it a different word even. If people, that was a good one though, what I said.
That was a good one.
Yes. But if they're, you know, like if your competition, I almost said your competition stiff.
Your competition stiff.
Oh my gosh!
If you were looking at these things that you could purchase, Lonnie, and there's not a lot of people that you're competing with, even if it's, you know, you're going to throw away X amount just because so it fits into what you like to do, you know, the time and the effort you want to put into it. I think that'd be awesome, man. An awesome opportunity there.
I guess. I mean, my thing is you have to be a completionist though when it comes to that. Like you have, like John did, like he said, I want to be out, in, and out.
Oh my goodness.
That is not good. John was like, John said, I want to hit it and I want to quit it. I want to be out of there. By April 1st.
Actually, you know what? When John approaches things, I mean, I'm not going to say this is how John approaches things, but my perception is he is definitely more of a business-minded person. Like when that opportunity came up, he didn't just go, oh, I'm going to buy this and I'll figure this thing out. He was already coming up with a plan. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like he was already going, okay, here's what I have to do. He didn't sit around for a month and decide to hire people. It's a different approach. It's like there's people that just like it was a businessman approach.
He's on a different level.
That's the exactly. That's the way.
No, I'm not. One thing that I took into a lot of consideration that I haven't talked about, Steve, is I thought about the opportunity cost, because typically in the winter and the fall, I go to live auctions and I'll drive out in the country and I'll find stuff and, I'll make my money that way. So I thought about, okay, if I do that normally, like I normally do, how much money am I going to make in that time frame? How much, cost is that going to incur with gas and time and everything else? So is this going to be a better opportunity than if I do that? So that's something to consider if, somebody's wanting to do storage auctions or wanting to do a big buy. Yeah, you might make a lot of money, but what's your opportunity cost? What are you not doing instead? And if you're going to make more money at doing this than you would in that, then do it.
You're making my point, John. Like just what you said right now is important for people to understand. If you are considering doing the auction, those are important things to consider. But I think the average reseller, AKA Steph and Steve, we need to step back and think like that. You're thinking like that. There's not a lot of people that would have sat back and said, okay, if I buy this, I'm going to have to, this is how it will impact what I had planned on doing that year. So
I think you already think that way, Steve. You already do.
I don't
you buy liquidation. You buy liquidation. You buy a big pile of 900 pieces of clothing. You don't know what you're going to do with it, but you made it work.
Yeah. Steve thinks like, should I get this pallet or should I keep on dumpster diving?
Hey, here's
we buy stuff at auctions all the time.
I know,
and we
but not
go
like
and we evaluate just what we can see on the outside. We can't dig around in there necessarily.
You're talking about a different volume, though. That volume was like.
We've rented U-Hauls to fill it up for all the stuff that we purchased.
The number of units, the number of pieces that you is freaking crazy.
No. I meant as far as like looking at a storage.
Oh, how we would look at it.
Yeah, you just evaluate based off what you're seeing, how you think you can make money, go conservative, and then.
Yeah, we would be really conservative.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and for us, like okay, earlier Lonnie was going, hey, Dwayne, do you try to figure out what's in that unit by looking at what this person, what was this person all about? Oh, Jesus, come on. Okay. Do you look at...
Lonnie makes a good point, though, because, like, think about it. If you could see pet hair or different things on there.
You can smell cat pee.
Yeah, if you can smell cat pee, absolutely. Like other things, like it's gonna kind of give you an inkling not to buy it. So Lonnie makes
you gotta be a detective, and that part of it isn't that part of it exciting?
Yes.
That's the fun part.
That's the skill, man. That's the skill and intuition, and
that's part of like you do that, and that might even be the most enjoyable part of the whole process. And then you end up selling the stuff, but during that moment, because that might be your last moment, guys. That could be your last
come
moment.
on, dude. That's a bump.
Figure this out.
Whoa.
Steve.
Hey,
wow, we're getting a little
about just being in that moment and enjoying that part of the process. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it.
Oh, sorry. Nevermore Antique says if your unit has cat hair on it, we need to talk.
How does the chat feel?
And so like what Steve was saying was like literally it could be your last unit ever.
Look, Sharp Seller is asking in the chat, Lonnie, how much did you spend on that thing? I got to tell you guys, this is the best 59 cents I ever spent in my life.
Oh, man.
This is 59 cents last night at Goodwill, and as people were passing by when we were looking at other stuff, I would fart, I would burp, or if I want to fake a sale like I'm a big baller, I could do everything with this little box. I don't need you guys anymore.
That thing is awesome.
So, but there's a lot of tips as well that go into once you bought a couple storage facility purchases. You start learning, there's trends, like you were saying, Lonnie, how if you see cat hair or if you see, certain things, it kind of leans towards maybe it'll be like that.
Yeah, like Dwayne I don't remember if it was you that said it, but a good sign that maybe it's been rifled through is if the boxes if they didn't bother to close the boxes.
It wasn't me,
just
who
looking
was
at
that
it.
that said that?
I don't remember. I thought it was you. Oh, maybe
I think it was Jory.
Jory.
I think it was Jory. He said if their boxes are open, then, because
one
nobody stores their stuff
that
with
way.
their box open.
Right. Right.
Say again, Dwayne. My earbuds were cutting out. What did you say just now?
That's okay.
How do people store their stuff?
It's a clear sign that someone's rifled through the box.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
John Ritter, he's in heaven right now, but he would be proud of us.
Oh man, I'm dying. I'm freaking dying here.
Lauren, have you purchased any storage units? Okay.
No, I would like to build one though.
Yes.
You want to build
Well,
your own unit? You don't want to use somebody else's. You want your own, right?
You can just buy one, right?
I think they make things for. I think they make things for that. That's what plaster is.
You're talking about prefabricated, Shane? Is that what?
Oh
my
yeah,
goodness.
prefabricated units.
Okay.
What time is this show on?
Oh my
I can't believe we still have 130 something people watching us.
We got 151.
Give some thumbs
A lot of
up,
people
you
like
guys.
units.
Love for Dwayne.
Hey, give some thumbs up for Dwayne.
Dwayne.
The Dwayne. And
Can you say Dwayne?
I can say the Dwayne.
Nevermore
You say
Antique says,
Dwayne,
if you
one
build
syllable.
it, they will come.
Oh,
Oh, man.
Do you guys ever hope your spouse isn't watching the show?
Oh, I'm sure mine is.
I'm there tonight. I hope Candace ain't watching this.
Boxes.
I really do.
Hey, what did Barkley McCheese Pants say?
Exposed boxes are bad and illegal in most states.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy.
Oh, you guys are killing me.
So, any other questions on the panel?
Good times. And we lucky we got them. That's John Maserati, bet. Oh. What'd I do? What'd I do?
I apologize for Steve. You guys did this to him.
John Maserati, better than a Ferrari.
Oh. Nevermore Antiques. My wife is listening to you guys. Call out all the comments. She called me a perv.
Hey, let's get Nevermore Antiques in trouble. Just start saying random stuff that you say.
I guarantee you Juan Watson's wife knew he was a perv way before you.
You're right.
Like the video with him in the wig at the Goodwill.
Oh, he is a funny dude, man.
No, he's hilarious.
So, is there any other questions? Lauren, do you have any questions? You've been really quiet.
I'm good. I was just taking it all in and responding.
Literally taking it all in.
Well, that's the best thing you could do with a unit, probably. Take it all in.
Hey, Dwayne, read our times out. Our times out comment. Go ahead and read that.
Yeah. So our time's out is out. So is the tip of the day to avoid big units with cat hair on them. Absolutely.
Never know where that unit's been.
That's a good tip.
Oh my God.
That is a very good tip. Yeah.
I'm just gonna read the chat from now on.
Oh,
Oh, man, this was crazy.
Lonnie, I
What
sleep
is
good
this episode
taking all
about?
your Bibles.
Well, I asked that swamp picker. He bought me 3 Bibles. I asked him how does he sleep at night taking all my Bibles. Apparently, he sleeps like a baby.
Going back to Mexico. Juan Watson says, I'm going back to Mexico.
That's Nevermore.
Yeah.
John Johnson.
Oh my.
That's a
Watson.
Juan.
He
So
changed
Bum
it.
Crack Picker says
Nevermore,
one of my
Nevermore.
old units I had used to get condensation on the ceiling. It made all my boxes go damp and foisty.
I think they make something for that, right?
Oh my goodness.
Like a cream or something,
Oh
like
my
a cream
God.
you put on the walls to make them stop sweating.
That's Bum Crack Picker. Oh my
Jory's going to be so upset he missed this.
Oh, I know. Jory would have been able to put quite a bit of emphasis on some of our comments.
Pickers, Dwayne. Brian Oakbrook Picker has a comment.
Oh, where?
Pete, we actually haven't said anything unsuitable, technically. This goes right under the radar.
Must comply with the AdSense program policies and advertiser-friendly content. Good luck.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Blame it on the
Nevermore Antiques hates it when his box smells like mold.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
So,
does it smell like sourdough bread or something? Or
whose channel is this on next week?
Lonnie's, thank God.
Hey, listen up. All joking aside. All joking aside, guys, we got to clean it up. Get your shit together. we are not. This is not going to be a.
Guy with the fart noise.
Should we all go to AA next week then, or
that damn sound machine that Lonnie has?
What fun is that?
Yeah.
Well, do we have anything else to share? To give to these people in the chat here.
You know what? Honestly, if you got a good laugh tonight, then you're doing pretty good, right?
Yeah, you're a bit warped.
I like to laugh.
If you guys enjoyed it as much as we did, and I think everybody on this panel enjoyed it, then you guys it's pretty good. You don't always have to learn something, right? Hey, look at the dog. Which one is that, Lauren?
This is
Like
Suki.
dogs.
Suki, that's right,
Suki. Oh.
yeah.
Suki. Hi, Suki.
Oh.
I think the six pack is like a dog that you can't wait to see it.
Oh.
And then when you see it, you're like, oh, this
Steve's
is so
getting
much
all
fun.
philosophical.
So,
Getting all fuzzy.
He's
Hey,
starting to.
Swamp Picker has a question about buying units. He wants to know if there are any tips.
Well, we haven't bought any, so we're out of this one.
Well, I don't even know if that's an actual question or not.
Yeah, knowing
I think it is.
like a dude,
If it's Glenn, I think it really is. Yeah.
You might mean that legitimately.
Yeah, I think he actually does. Well, the main one is only bid on what you see, because those kind of things. That's the biggest one. And if you're doing it online, you have plenty of time to do some research. Set up a good network of people to get rid of stuff. Be ready for a lot of work, because it usually is a lot of work.
Look for pianos and avoid those units.
Yeah, exactly.
Pianos.
Yeah, I agree. John said just right. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Definitely, if you're going to do it, go with the smaller.
It doesn't get better, does it? Go with the smaller one. I mean, does this ever get better?
I'm trying to think of a way to go here. I just can't.
Does this ever end?
Facility.
Good God, man.
Let's say facility.
Does it ever end?
Small one, whatever. I mean, geez, man, does this ever stop?
Yeah, Don only bids on what she sees as far as units go.
Oh, my goodness.
Good job, Don. But yeah,
goodness.
so your best bet is to start with a smaller unit. Go from there. Mitigate your risks there.
Softballs, man.
I know. There's been a lot of home runs tonight.
There actually is some good advice. Like, we've never bought anything from a storage facility, and what we're taking away from it is, you know, be conservative in the beginning. If you be conservative, I said storage facility, so be conservative, and if you whatever you see that you're bidding on, and as far as the online ones, read that whole thing, because at the end of that description there was one we were looking at, and the description at the end said motorcycle not included, you know, and that was like,
oh,
okay,
shit.
then why would I want it? So read the whole description if you're doing an online one, which we haven't done yet, but this is how we're going to approach it. And we're going to, whatever items that we can actually see online and, you know, do our research and see how much just those items are worth. It's kind of similar to the, like buying a pallet. We ignore what's on that manifest, the most expensive items, and we just act like they're not part of it. And we base whether or not we buy it on the middle of that pallet. We don't care about if this thing's going to be a home run or not. We act like it's not there. So we'll approach buying a storage facility.
You're buying the whole facility now?
buying something at an auction at a storage facility. We will approach it conservatively and be aware there is some kind of a gamble involved. So just know what where your pain tolerance is. You know, how much are you willing to risk? And don't just count the dollar amount. Count the time that you're going to need to remove all the items, clean that space up. Lonnie was waiting. She was waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Clean that. You know, to clean that space up. If we've got to travel, we will account for.
Steve, you take all the time you need to clean your unit, man. I'm not going to hurt you.
He couldn't wait. He couldn't wait. But similar to, like, we do auctions that are rather far away, and we know how much it costs for a U-Haul truck if necessary, depending on how much we win, and we will take that into account when we bid on and win a storage auction
online.
That's
and
what
we're going to try local ones too.
Yeah, we're going to try to stay close in the beginning, but we're definitely going to do it. And it should, you know, as long as if it makes sense financially. So that's what we're taking away from it. And we appreciate everything that everybody shared today. It's been freaking amazing. That's where we are.
Pete says, Steve, blah, blah, blah.
He's on.
That was like 5 minutes of Steve not trying not to say unit. That's what
It was so hard.
What, your unit is so hard? What? Oh, Steve, slow down, bud.
What are your thoughts, Andy? Bring it back.
Don't even drag me into this.
Cincinnati Picker, what do you think?
I think it's time to go, and thank everyone for watching tonight. We greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
The show's going to be on Lonnie's channel next week, right?
Yep,
correct.
A much cleaner show, much more straight laced.
Steve, man, after
you know, that's not hard. This is kind of off the road. But hey, you know what? We're all just having fun anyway. That's why we do this show. I mean, we hope that somebody gets something out of it, but for the most part, it's just for us to hang around and have a beer, enjoy. So, all right. Like they said, everybody go see Lonnie's channel next week. Not his unit, his channel.
No. No.
So, with that being said, I'm thinking we're out.
Okay.
Hey,
night, guys.
enjoy your life, guys.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Wash your unit.